Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin, SEO from Inwood, New York City, which is the very tip top of Manhattan on December 5th, 2014, and it's Code with Mike Friday. And it's very rare I actually wear my casual Friday Darth Vader shirt on an actual Friday, so you're going to be seeing a lot of it at the start of my videos today. On the last video, I showed the easy way to download Levinux from GitHub, which is basically just going to github.com and searching for Levinux or Pipulate, which you can do here. Levinux you want to search for. I'll be the top one that comes up. You go in there and then you just download it through the download zip link. But for people who are going to be doing coding with it, which I'm going to be doing today, there is a different way to do it. So we're going to get rid of this one, which you saw the demo from earlier, and I am going to open a new window, and I am going to copy the, it's better to use the HTTPS version here, it tends to work better. Copy. That's opposed to the SSL version, which you can switch between here somehow. But anyway, I got the one I need. And I'm going to CD, and this works on most Macs. You do ~/desktop. Now you can do pwd. You can see that you're actually on your Mac desktop location. Now you can do git clone and paste the URL you just got from GitHub. And there you saw the Levinux folder just pop up and appear. It's going to do a fetch. It's going to be much larger than the last one, which was only like 21 megabytes, because this has the history of Levinux in there. And when I update Levinux, it's a lot of files updated. So if I were to select it and do Command I for information, you can see it's already up to 119 megabytes. I might reset the repository again to get rid of a lot of that old unnecessary history. This doesn't have quite the history of a coding project. It's a little bit different in the sense that it's kind of a magic cocktail mix of files that make this work. And it looks identical to if you download the zip, but there's really a hidden file in there. If I cd into Levinux now and do ls-la, which is list all files, you'll see the invisible ones like .git. So there's actually a .git sitting here because it's a Git repository when you use git clone to get it, as opposed to downloading the zip, which doesn't get the Git repository. It just gives you the project for use. So it's exactly the same as it used to be. We run Pipulate. You saw this on the last video, but it's interesting to see again. I'll close my terminal window for now just so that it doesn't confuse things. And it actually, on the first running, builds the server. I will open my terminal window back up because there's something interesting to point out here. I am going to clear, and then I'm going to do git status. And I just did a git clone, so you can see there's really not a lot of unusual activity in the repository yet. Nothing has changed. I haven't edited or modified a file, but now the Levinux server is building here. It's downloading Dropbear, which is an SSH server, and BusyBox HTTPD, which is a tiny web server, and it dropped it onto the virtual hard drives. So if I were to do a git status, you will see now that I've got 3 modified files, the QCal files that are part of TinyCore Linux. This bottom one, tce.qcal, is where TinyCore extensions are installed. Those would be things like Python when I actually install it. Opt is where configuration and backup files get kept. And then home is your actual /home directory, familiar to Unix people, where your home directory is located. So there's a user here called TC for TinyCore, and if I were to CD into it, I would actually be in this home hard drive. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The point is that building or running Levinux for the first time builds it as a server, and because this is a GitHub repository, I'm going to be doing work in here, and then I'm going to push it back up. And I don't want the already built server to be pushed back up, and that is where the reset directory comes into play. And you just can go in there, and I guess I'll do a before and after again. This was git status. This is how it looks, 3 modified files. And in order to get a true before and after, I guess I'll do a new window, cd to tilde desktop, Levinux, git status, and it's the same thing as what's showing in the other window. I'll do them side by side. Again, a before and after. These are pretty much the same right now. But now I'll just do reset from Mac, and you'll see home-backup.qcal appear. I've actually copied out the built home directory, which is where any custom work you've done will have ended up if you did any coding. That way, so after a reset, if you go, oh, I screwed up, you actually can get back to where you were. But if you do it twice, it'll overwrite that, so beware. Now if I go into here and do git status, voila, the hard drive entries are gone, except of course for that QCal one, which we don't really need. Oh, Levinux is still running. This makes a point. You can just force out of this. Tiny Core Linux is a different kind of Linux distro in that it can't get corrupt. It just can't go corrupt. It's a kind of Linux that's used for embedded systems that get built into, TVs, refrigerators. Whenever you need Linux to run a general purpose computer inside an appliance, they make a very scaled down version of Linux that's called an embedded Linux. And Tiny Core is one of the few desktop Linux distros that is built like an embedded system. The upshot of that is you can just close it and not risk ruining everything without a formal shutdown procedure. But now, once again, if I do the git status, now even that backup file is gone, and it's pretty much a clean repository. So these are some interesting things about Levinux, but what I'm in here to do right now is not work on Levinux per se, but it's to work on Pipulate, to get the Pipulate code working on Levinux. Pipulate was written for Python, I think it's 3.4, but Tiny Core currently only lets you get Python 2.7. So a lot of work today is going to be about rolling back the 3.x work that I did, the 3.x dependencies in an introspection signature function I used in Pipulate, and I think one instance of with, to work on 2.7 the older way. So let's build Levinux one more time. We don't need both of these. It's too much to look at. Let me make it a little simpler to look at. And what I'm about to do is build Levinux into even something more than a bare minimum web server and an SSH terminal hosts, which is what the build you're about to see does. It's not enough to run Pipulate yet because things, for example, like Python, are not yet installed. There's a second stage server build that I'm about to choose by hitting 4. See, get Python. Bam. Now I'll probably pause the video because this build takes significantly longer than the first build. But you can see it's downloading a bunch of dependencies for Python. It's got to download all of TCL and TK and a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of X stuff for graphics that we don't really need. And these are things that over time I'll refine just for efficiency and elegance sake. But for right now, you just sort of got to grin and bear it while everything gets installed that Pipulate needs, and then finally Pipulate itself gets installed. So I'm going to do a pause right now. Okay, I'll pop in and out with the pauses. You can see Python was just installed, and after that I'm going to install Git and a few other packages that are needed. So there's Python-distribute, that's essentially easy install. And after easy install is there, I can do easy install space pygreen, easy install space gspread. And those are the things that are, so there you see Git being installed. So now I'll be able to do the Git clone, and you're going to see things a little bit different than these asterisk ... things. These asterisk things are essentially TinyCore using its program tce-load to pull down extensions. Extensions are fully configured programs that get, quote, installed, but only by being copied in location. But things look different now. You see TCE load is done doing its thing, and I'm doing easy installs now. You see pygreen going in, and then the dependencies for pygreen, which include Flask, is going to get installed, and all of Flask's dependencies, and so on until finally I do the Git clone of Pipulate itself. I will pause. And you can see while it's going on, you're going to get like a ton of little warnings as like work Zoig is installed. But that is not a problem. These are just little FYI warnings. They're not critical things wrong. So if you do this build and you see this and it seems to take forever, just wait it out. It's working. Okay, pygreen, gspread, and Flask_WTF are just about installed, and we should be seeing the Git command come up in a moment to do the Git clone Pipulate. So that's why I came back now. It's doing WTF forms, which is the dependency of Flask_WTF. There's a lot of alphabet soup in here. You don't have to worry about any of that. This is just building a tiny little server for Python web development using kind of the best of breed of all these different things. There we go, cloning Pipulate. And once it's installed, it should go back to the main menu. That little backup that it's doing now is TinyCore Linux's way of preserving all the customizations that map into system, which is running in RAM. So how I told you you can just hit the power and kill Levinux, that's because everything is running in RAM. But when you do a bunch of installs, some of their things go into places that are in RAM, which would be lost when you kill power. So TinyCore Linux has sort of an overlay of the stuff you installed that it keeps track of, and you can run a backup of it, and then when you restart TinyCore Linux, it does a recovery of that and lays it back on top. So your customizations always sort of are like a laminate peel that gets lifted up and laid back on top of the core, TinyCore Linux, that runs so fast and so incorruptibly in RAM. And that backup procedure takes a minute after you've installed so many things. And it will also take some time each time you start to do the recovery, but that's okay. It's really not that long, still faster than most Linuxes on restarting. And now there's two things we can do. I give you the instructions right on the right on here. You can SSH in and use a standard Mac terminal window, which is really the preferred way because it's a better user interface. You can highlight text. You can't highlight text on QEMU, and you lose your pointer. So hitting Control Option gets it back. So let's do the SSH thing. SSH TC at localhost minus P space 2222. And this is the first time I did it, so it will challenge me with the key exchange stuff. We'll answer yes. And we're attempting to log in as the user TC. The password is foo, F-O-O. And bam, if I do an ls, you can see we are inside of this little server. We have connected to this server from this terminal window. And I can open a web browser and go to localhost 8080, and the files that are being found in there are actually in htdocs. So I can cd into htdocs, and then I can do vi index.html, and then I can edit something like Levinux beta version 3.0 documentation. I'll just put an exclamation point. I'll put 3 of them after 3.0. Go back here, do a refresh. I don't think I saved. Oh, it's read only. Okay, there's a way to deal with that. But I need to, I'm going to quit out for a second. Quit exclamation point. So much to remember. I'm going to do sudo, which gives you root privileges, vi index.html. Now I'll look for the 3.0, and then I will go into insert mode, put my exclamation point, save, go over here, and do a much better demonstration. So just typical HTML editing, web stuff. But there is another project here, cd .. /pipulate ls. Oh, look at that. That's the old familiar Pipulate code from all the previous projects, but now it is on Levinux. And I keep talking about how it's going to be on 8080, but because I have that BusyBox HTTP lightweight server running on 8080 right now, I put it on 8888. But I know from experience I need to go into pipulate.py and search for the occurrences of 8080 and replace them with 8888. And I don't need to do that on the login redirect because I won't be demoing that to you. But this is the start of my work today. I'm first going to probably move Pipulate onto 8888, and the Python will attempt to run. Now I've done everything necessary to allow this to be reachable from the web browser. And I type Python Pipulate, and lo and behold, you will see it is actually able to run. You're going to see the web server start here in a second, just like on all my previous videos. But now it's running off of this tiny little server on your desktop, which can work this exact same way if you're on a Windows machine. It's kind of the great common denominator, the lowest common denominator to do these tutorials, because the way I show you to do this work is now going to be identical no matter what machine you sit down at, and you won't have to do any installs to actually use Pipulate if you're in it for using it rather than learning Python, Vim, and Git along with me. And unfortunately, Pipulate isn't actually going to run correctly. We're going to see a Python error, but we go to localhost 8888 now, and at least we will see a Python error. We're going to see it attempted to run. We're going to get these no module named parse, because things are different between 2.7, which you can see we're running here, and 3.4, which is where I designed Pipulate. So my next videos are going to be rolling back the 3.0 specifics or 3.x specific stuff, making it work on 2.7, and then getting Pipulate Levinux in a downloadable and usable format for you, hopefully by the end of today. So thanks for joining me. Hope to talk to you soon, and don't forget to subscribe.